හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Friday, the 29th of March 2024. Lost glory, 1 billion rupees set aside for cricket development. President Ranil Wickremesinghe insists that sports should be devoid of politics.
I want Sri Lanka to become a champion in cricket.
Powered up, new electricity reforms bill to be gazetted, reveals Power and Energy Minister. No Snowden moment. India assures protection of personal data collected through Sri Lanka's digital ID program as digital public infrastructure collaboration takes shape. The tax swap, special commodity levy act to be abolished next year and replaced by a seasonal tax to protect local farmers.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9 with Indivari Amuata and Mahish Johnny. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening, everyone. Before anything, we want to tell all our Christian viewers commemorating Good Friday, a blessed Good Friday. And I hope you had the opportunity to reminisce about what the importance of today. And it is a very important event in the Christian calendar. So good evening in the very in another couple of days, Easter Sunday, which is also a very important day for all Christians. So it has many significance in the Christian calendar to see.
Certainly. A blessed day to all our viewers. A very good evening and a warm welcome. We promise to bring you the very latest from across Sri Lanka and around the world once again tonight. A comprehensive look at some of the stories, but some we will very quickly touch on the facts and figures. But to begin with, we have the President focusing on Sri Lanka cricket.
That's interesting, isn't it?
A controversial question over the past many months.
And everybody was talking about the fact that cricket was not doing as it was supposed to do, and now the President is coming with a huge amount of money, pledging to ensure that the game will be developed to a certain extent. And that's interesting to see as well. But then again, you can't take cricket out of this country.
Certainly, and cricket in this country does have a significant amount of money coming in, and I think it's self-sustainable. And much could be done from within. So this has been a controversial issue discussed, especially about the commitment of officials to take cricket forward, and officials also to make the necessary reforms to develop school cricket.
That's the important part, because providing a pathway for really great cricketers out there in Sri Lanka.
The budding young cricketers who have to be identified.
We need to create a path, especially from the north. I know there are lots of good cricketers in that part of our country, east, still not coming into the national team. So it would be interesting to see how this funding that is being proposed by the President will be utilized. And also there are lots of other stories to bring to you as well. Electricity tariff is basically taking another look. Basically that particular bill is going to the Parliament, and we will see difference occurring in the near future as well. Political arena is basically heating up. Elections, whatnot. A lot more to report, so let's begin tonight's bulletin. Now, reminiscing Sri Lanka's glory at the top of the cricketing world, President Ranil Wickremesinghe claims that the government is committed to develop cricket in Sri Lanka, and added that 1 billion rupees will be set aside this year for that purpose.
Speaking at an event in Colombo, President Wickremesinghe said a trust fund will be established to develop cricket, which will be managed by former Sri Lankan cricket captain Sidath Vettamuni.
Now, according to the President, trust funds management will be responsible to improve cricket programs in rural schools, organize cricket matches and foster the growth of cricket at the grassroots level.
Speaking further, the head of state emphasized the importance of broadening the base of Sri Lanka cricket by expanding into 1,500 schools nationwide.
The 125th anniversary celebration of the Sinhalese Sports Club was held last evening in Colombo under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I think for about 66 years, you had the leaders of my party as your president. And that is a great honor to us. They have done so. I was in the SSC at one time as a student when your swimming pools were open. But as a politician, I thought I should keep out of it. And politics of today is not the politics of DSN Naik or J.R. Jayawardena. So more you keep politicians out of holding high office in the club, the better it will be for all of us. So let's separate the politics and let's separate sports. I think that is something that is needed today. But it doesn't mean that we have forgotten you. After all, we have to carry on the traditions of our leaders. So I told the Minister of Sports now, submit a cabinet paper to give a 99-year lease to the SSC. I want Sri Lanka to become a champion in cricket. I want you all to come to that. The contribution the government will make is we are setting aside ₹1 billion this year and even more next year to have a trust with one of your members of the SSC heading it, Sidath, to pump into the rural schools to play cricket and to play good cricket and to have their own big matches. There's a gentleman who wants to ban big matches. I want to tell him that the age of the politics of Kirti Vijay Bahu is over and we will continue to play the cricket matches. Why is it that I want? I want at least 1,000 to 1,500 schools with cricket teams. 1,000 to 1,500. Why do I want 1,000 to 1,500? Because then you all will have a big pool from which you can select your cricketers. Not a few hundreds. More that play cricket, we will create the base. It's up for the board of control and clubs to develop it. So we like to work together with you. And the government will start a scheme, we'll work together to ensure that we can bring cricket and make Sri Lanka leading light in cricket. That's what we want it to be. And we are prepared to help in it.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
Well, the new electricity reforms bill will be gazetted in the next 2 weeks and that it will be presented to Parliament during the last week of April. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said that suggestions and issues raised by the development agencies and stakeholders were incorporated as amendments to the draft bill that was gazetted in December. Now, speaking during an electricity sector reforms review meeting at the Ministry of Power and Energy with officials of the Reform Secretariat, Kanchana Wijesekara, the minister, added that certification to proceed with the new draft bill was issued by the Attorney General last Monday. Now, further, the minister noted that stakeholders or any interested individuals will have at least 2 weeks to review the Gazette bill and 2 more weeks from that day of presenting it to the Parliament to challenge the bill's legality. The new electricity bill, which aims to facilitate the implementation of reforms to the electricity industry, will contain provisions for the establishment of the National Electricity Advisory Council. It also provides legislative measures applicable for the incorporation of corporate entities under the Companies Act No. 7 of 2007, in which all activities connected to the generation, transmission, distribution, trade, supply and procurement of electricity are vested.
Sri Lanka has called for proposals to support the restructuring of international bonds. In a statement, the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies stated that in the context of the restructuring of international sovereign bonds, the government of Sri Lanka is working towards launching an invitation to exchange existing ISBS denominated in US dollars for new international sovereign bonds in the same currency. The statement further claimed that the ministry, on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, invites banks to submit proposals for consideration to be appointed as a dealer managed for the exchange offer. The proposals for the restructuring of sovereign bonds have to be submitted by the 10th of April.
Well, dispelling recent rumours, Indian tech expert Dr. Pramod Varma claims that personal data of Sri Lankans will not be shared with the Indian government through Sri Lanka's program to introduce digital IDs to citizens launched in collaboration with India.
Now, joining at Hyde Park earlier this evening, co-chair of the Centre for Digital Public Infrastructure in India, Dr. Pramod Varma said that the digital ID will only be used to identify individuals and will be strictly for the use of nation or the country when providing government services.
Now, also joining the program, the Secretary to the Ministry of Technology, Dr. Dharmasiri Kumarathunga, assured that all data collected will be secured within the country and that it will be used to streamline the process of welfare distribution in the country as well.
How is the data here used? Will there be access to India for the data?
Answer is absolute no.
Is it that easy?
Absolutely no. Well, it's like asking the question, oh, you're using Microsoft Windows, does it mean all your data is with Microsoft? No, it's just a software, right? You use somebody's software, but you are running your machine, you are running the data center here, ministries are controlling it here under your laws, regulations, by your people. So India has no access to that data, absolutely whatsoever. It's not even a private software. Recommended for Sri Lanka's implementation is completely an open source software. So Sri Lanka is very friendly to open source. You have a good open source community, and they could actually say, yeah, entire code is visible to us, and that means we are very, very clear what's running. Interestingly, same thing asked in India. Because at the end of the day, we end up using hardware, software from around the world. It's not that we produce hardware and software in our countries, right? So the answer is no, clearly, that you can design today software or systems that are secure, in your control, in complete rules that follow as per your rules and regulation, and manage it very securely. In fact, India's Aadhaar system, just to answer the earlier question as well, biometric data is not even access to our security agencies in the country. That means India's security agencies or criminal justice system cannot access the biometrics in Aadhaar. It's contained, protected by law. It is primarily to empower the individual to be able to access products and services in the digital world. When government gives free money or services, government can actually mandate the unique ID to be used.
So with the implementation of this digital ID program, how do you think welfare benefits can be distributed among the most needed and in a targeted manner?
Now there's a problem how we send the money to the correct person or the right person. Then if you're having this type of the connection, interlink system or interoperability system, then it is easy for any government to do the transaction, identify the particular person and do the transaction. It's easy. And also we can restrict some of the data for the banking sector. And for the insurance sector, it's also the same. And for the health, so if we need to declare some kind of data, so we may be able to do that according to the institution requirement. So likewise, it is not necessary to declare all the data.
Question is, how will Sri Lanka ensure that individual data of citizens are not used in such a way that really poses a risk to the country or these individual citizens?
It is in our boundary, in our sovereignty. So it will not anyway declare to any others.
In politics, while highlighting the necessity of getting rid of religious and racial divisions in the country, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that his party is committed to uplift the standards of education in Sri Lanka.
Now, addressing the event in Vavuniya, the opposition leader also highlighted the need to completely eradicate extremism from every racial community in the country.
A smart classroom worth 1 million rupees was handed over to the Sri Nagaraja Vidyalayam in Vavuniya in the latest edition of the Sakwala program by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
We should not divide ourselves as Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims and Burghers. Unity is the country's strength. Unity is your strength. All citizens in this country are equal. No ethnic group or religion has the right to destroy another. People of all races and religions have the right to coexist in the country in peace and harmony while protecting their identity. We must protect that unity. We have to get rid of racial and religious divisions. We have to completely eradicate extremism rooted in every racial community. We have to ensure religious freedom. Only then can the people unite as a nation. There is no point of having so many articles in the constitution if the country is divided by race. Without giving way to racial, religious, caste and ethnic divisions, it is crucial to develop the standard of education in the country. We will do that.
Still in politics, independent parliamentarian and General Secretary of the Freedom People's Congress, Professor Charita Herath, states that discussions regarding Sri Lanka's current economic transformation must be at the forefront of the political discourse. Speaking at a recent dialogue, he expressed these views, and at the same event, leader of the Maubima Janata Party, Dilip Jayawira, highlighted that it is impossible to develop villages and the country at large unless the state adopts an entrepreneurial mindset. He went on to state that repeating old political and economic conversations will yield no new result for the country.
A novel dialogue on village development was held at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute last evening. The dialogue was attended by representatives of several political parties.
Sri Lanka's economic crisis was not exclusively a result of management failure. We are of the view that the crisis was a result of a political problem. We cannot solve this issue by simply fixing management inefficiencies without addressing political root causes. If politics destroyed our country, it can also revive it.
We must find solutions to this issue together. The country's youth discovered a new method to topple governments. That is how they ousted Gotabaya Rajapaksa from power. Violence and the ballot box did not work. The third method was to take to the streets. Those who intend to do politics must understand that present reality.
I think that the conversation on Sri Lanka's economic transformation must be at the top of political discourse in the next 6 months. I think a broad explanation on the crisis must be open in the face of the public, regardless of who becomes the president and who receives votes. Despite who wins the election, I think that an open, broad and inclusive discourse regarding the crisis must take place.
It is pointless to think that repeating old conversations can lead to something new. We need to know what will happen from tomorrow onwards. Either the people need to change or the people need to change what they believe in. If not, people need to reboot themselves. I speak only of entrepreneurship in the dialogue I propose. It is an entrepreneurial state which we can put forward as a vision for the society, which can be taken as an example from other countries. Looking at a lot of developed nations, it is clear that a vision of an entrepreneurial state can propel society forward. Unless the state embraces an entrepreneurial mindset and fosters innovation, we cannot develop the village and the nation at large.
Now, drawing attention to the current economic context of Sri Lanka, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siamalapitia claims that the government is providing the maximum relief possible. He went on to say that the government cannot perform economic miracles. Meanwhile, ideas were exchanged in the political arena today on who is the most suitable candidate to hold the office of the 9th executive president of this country.
Look at the change the country has undergone during the past 2 to 3 years. The country is gradually improving. The government is providing the maximum relief possible. However, the government can't perform miracles. We need a leader who can take the country forward.
State Minister Shehan Semasinghe and Ranjit Siambalapitiya are responsible to collect taxes on behalf of the President. Those two have burdened the people of this country to the highest degree possible by imposing exorbitantly high taxes. It is ludicrous to hear them speak of providing relief. The government has failed to reduce prices of essential goods. The only thing left to do is to change the government.
Parliamentarians with whom we are all acquainted represent the Samagijana Balavegya. Most of them are of the view that Ranil Wickremesinghe should be the president of the country. I believe it is better if the Samagijana Balavegya and the UNP join together before the presidential election.
For the betterment of the country, an educated person with political experience and a capacity to deal with the international community must take up the leadership.
Despite whatever many people may say, the general public has decided to make Anurakumara Dissanayake, the NPP candidate, the next president of this country.
According to what we know, around 40 to 45% of the voters have not arrived at a final decision. Therefore, we think that the final election result can be very different.
Now away from politics, in a series of raids conducted in Galle, Ambalangoda and Ahongalla, over 100 million rupees worth of assets belonging to a notorious underworld figure connected with drug trafficking in Ahongalla was seized by police.
And the raids were carried out in parallel with the ongoing Yukti operation. Inspector General of the Police, Deshabandhu Tennakon, joined the operation in the observational capacity.
With that, here's a look at other news from across Sri Lanka in brief.
In a series of raids conducted in Galle, Ambalangoda and Ahongalla in parallel with the ongoing Yukti operation, police impounded over 100 million rupees worth of assets belonging to the notorious drug trafficker Anoma Shanti alias Kudunoni. 3 multi-day fishing craft, one of which was still under construction, 7 other vehicles, along with several plots of lands were impounded by the Illegal Assets and Properties Investigation Division during the course of the operation. The Inspector General of Police, Deshabandhu Tennakon, joined the operation in an observational capacity. During an earlier operation, the main suspect, Anoma Shanti, along with a number of her family members were taken into police custody. In the meantime, 18 individuals were taken into police custody during another raid conducted in parallel with the Yukti operation at the Modaravilla Tsunami Flats in Panudura. Reportedly, a large number of arrestees had outstanding warrants issued against them for the possession of illegal liquor and unregistered firearms. In a similar operation conducted in Anuradhapura, one reportedly had 22 grams of heroin in his possession at the time of the arrest, while the other was in possession of 1.2 kilograms of Kerala cannabis.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
Dulux.
Welcome back to the news. We take you to business news now.
Now, as Sri Lanka proceeds along the path of major economic reforms, the Cabinet of Ministers has decided to abolish the special commodity levy from the 1st of January of 2025.
This was revealed by State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya, who went on to claim that a seasonal tax will be imposed in place of the special commodity levy to protect local farmers from the competitive prices of imported agricultural products.
While drawing attention to the controversy surrounding the sugar tax, the Finance Minister asserts that the introduction of the new tax will simplify the existing custom duty framework while also eliminating skepticism regarding Sri Lanka's tax administration.
At the last cabinet meeting, we presented a proposal to abolish the special commodity levy from the 1st of January 2025 onwards. The cabinet accepted that proposal. The special commodity levy is very important. It protects Sri Lankan farmers and controls the domestic market by increasing the prices of imported agricultural products when local crops of the same variety are being harvested. Although we expected an unanticipated and immediate increase in prices through the imposition of the tax, we saw some controversies which took place when the special commodity levy was imposed. After imposing the tax, it can be presented to the cabinet subsequently. It can also be presented to Parliament. However, when any tax was increased, we saw that prices of local goods inflated. The value of the tax hike increased the prices of local goods. Sometimes when the government reduces taxes, and if those tax reductions don't lead to lower market prices, then suppliers appropriate an undue benefit which was originally intended to be passed on to consumers. The controversial case of the sugar tax is a similar incident which is still being investigated. Therefore, we need to administer taxes as transparently as possible. So, we decided to present a proposal to the Cabinet of Ministers seeking approval to abolish the special commodity levy from the 1st of January 2025. However, in place of the special commodity levy, we intend to introduce a seasonal tax to protect local farmers, as is the case in many developed nations. Through tax legislation as such, we can increase customs duties of imported crops, leading to increased prices of those imports while crops of the same variety are being harvested locally. On one hand, we expect to simplify the current customs duty framework through the introduction of such legislation. On the other hand, we can eliminate any skepticism or doubts that the Sri Lankan general public has regarding Sri Lanka's tax system.
Now, Sri Lanka's Purchasing Managers Index for the construction industry has indicated an expansion in February of this year, recording an index value of 57.1. Now, releasing the PMI figure for the construction industry in February of this year, the central bank claims that many firms attributed the growth in construction activities to the current conducive economic environment and the resumption of several temporarily suspended projects. Now, new orders continue to increase for the second consecutive month, reflecting the improved demand conditions in the industry. The respondents mentioned that large-scale infrastructure projects, particularly foreign-funded ones, are also among the available tender opportunities. However, employment remained contracted in February, yet a slower rate than the previous month. Several survey respondents cautioned about the shortage of skilled and experienced construction workers. Further, quantity of purchasers improved due to increased pipeline projects. Now, the price levels of construction materials denoted a downward adjustment during the month. Meanwhile, suppliers' delivery time further lengthened in February.
Now, in global oil prices, the rates gained more than $1 a barrel to close the month today, stimulated by the prospect of OPEC Plus production cuts, ongoing attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure, and a falling U.S. rig count combined to tightened crude supplies. Brent crude futures for May settled at its highest level since October 2023 at $87.48 a barrel, ahead of its expiry later today. Meanwhile, Brent's more actively traded June contract rose by $1.58 to settle at $87 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 2.3% to $83.17 a barrel. Both benchmarks finished higher for the third consecutive month, with Brent rising 2.4% and West Texas Intermediate gaining to 3.2% during the week. Oil prices fell in the previous sessions due to last week's unexpected rise in U.S. crude and gasoline inventories. However, analysts noted that the increase was lower than expected for the time of the year, leading to today's surge in prices. Now, Fitch Ratings assigned AA- national long-term rating to Sri Lanka-based consumer electronics retailer Abans PLC's proposed senior unsecured redeemable debentures.
Let's take a look at the corporate news segment for the day.
Fitch Ratings assigned a AA- negative national long-term rating to Sri Lanka-based consumer electronics retailer Abans PLC's proposed senior unsecured redeemable debentures. This rating reflects Abans' strong financial position and underscores Abans' robust position in the domestic market for consumer electronics, underpinned by its exclusive distribution network and strong portfolio of established brands. The recognition bestowed upon Abans PLC extends beyond its operational prowess, as evidenced by its certification from Great Place to Work and its accolades such as being named Sri Lanka's most loved retail brand in the LMD Brands annual survey. An event honouring women's entrepreneurial excellence themed DFCC Aloka celebrates women's entrepreneurial excellence to mark International Women's Day was held recently. The event to launch the Aloka program for current accounts for women entrepreneurs. The funding for the Aloka program comes from a $150 million credit line from the US International Development Finance Corporation. The event featured an engaging panel discussion with esteemed guests including Chairperson of WCIC Anoji De Silva and prominent female business leaders including Otara Gunawardana. Commercial Bank meanwhile announced the appointment of a chairman and a deputy chairman to the company. As such, Shahan Mohsin was appointed as chairman while Arsena Nayaka was appointed as the deputy chairman of the company with effect from the 22nd of April 2024.
Well, that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9. We'll see you again on Monday next week, but Aditya will join you over the weekend for the very latest. I'm Indivariya Muatta.
I'm Mahesh Johnny. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Good night.